So, hello and good evening to On Air, the online format of Swiss AI Weeks and Wildcard Media. We are live at the AI plus X Summit in Zurich at the moment. That's why you are listening to a bit noise in my background. We have a great fireside chat panel today. I'm only naming the first names that Michi can do the whole complete group later on. Let's welcome today Romain, Degu, Anna, Lukas, Michi, and Tobias. And the topic for today's fireside chat is automated DevOps, challenges and opportunities with AI agents. And the session will be streamed on YouTube as always. And so the stage is yours.
Very good. Thank you very much. Thank you for this nice introduction. I'm starting the slide share, and also from my end, a very warm welcome to all the interested folks out there looking a little bit more into the technical aspects of AI and how AI can support the DevOps cycle. I think we have brought together today a very interesting group of people who do have experience from the industry, from the technology side, but also from research to cover that topic quite nicely. Before that, it's also my pleasure to quickly introduce you to the Digital Impact Network, who is basically the umbrella company or the umbrella organization who brought up the idea around that chat, around that fireside chat. The Digital Impact Network is a community where people meet together physically and exchange on digitization topics. As you can see, we are not yet in Zurich, but maybe that might still come at some point in time. So there is regional events that are happening, and also we have focus group sessions. This fireside chat actually has been sponsored by the Focus Group of Artificial Intelligence, where Toby and myself are jointly leading this group forward, where we are focusing as well on exchange of obviously AI topic. And last but not least, let me also quickly introduce to those of you who are speaking German and who are interested to look a little bit into how small and medium businesses can probably benefit from AI. There is an interesting upcoming event on the 30th of October where we're gonna look into the decision around make versus buy. So should small and medium businesses probably intend to buy AI services or solutions, or should they probably consider more the development of own solutions? But without further ado, let's now jump into the main topic of today. And it's my distinct pleasure today to introduce you to Professor Anna Wiedemann. So she is a distinct expert when it comes to AI operations and service management. And she has completed her studies at Ulm and then completed a PhD at the TUM Technical University in Munich. Anna worked several years in the consulting space with Entity Data in Germany and leading there as an expert the IT operations, service management and DevOps cycle. With that as well, quite heavily affected now with AI, obviously. And now starting initially at Zurich University for Applied Science, and now latest as well in Bern for the University of Applied Science. In part of the research group, looking into how AI and DevOps are going along together. So how this intersection is and what are the implications on management of it. So let's have a bit more research watch on this. Anna, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Michael, for this nice introduction, and thank you very much for having me. Yeah, I would like to give you a brief overview about research and practice, and hence I'd like to start with some facts and figures from the Google Cloud's DORA study, which was just recently published. This study is conducted yearly, and they investigate DevOps teams since a couple of years. And in this study, 2025, over 5,000 professionals in the area of DevOps were asked to answer questions. And so the overall question was not if AI is already used in DevOps teams, it was how they use AI in DevOps. And 80% of the participants reported that they see an increased productivity through the integration of AI in their development and operations workflows. On the other hand, only 30% of the participants expressed that they have only little or no trust in AI generated code, which highlighting the importance of developing strong validation skills. So here further investigation is needed why these people are scared and have no trust. And on the other hand, we see that participants highlighted, namely 30%, that they already see an increase in higher job satisfaction, especially developers who learn to use to work with coding assistants are way more effective. And DevOps has not only arrived worldwide, it has also arrived in Switzerland, as we can see on the next slide. The daughter study is a worldwide study, but also in Switzerland, we see recent investigations that shows that, especially in the software industry, in the banking sector, DevOps is not a new word. Already 80% of the companies have begun implementing DevOps initiatives or have very well developed teams already. And I guess most of the people here in the call are familiar with DevOps, but maybe one or the other is not. So I just would like to give you a very brief explanation. DevOps builds up on agile practices and is a concept that goes beyond software development and integrates software operations tasks as well. So in general, one team is now responsible for the software delivery lifecycle for one or more products. And of course, since AI has risen a lot in the world, we see it also that it can have a lot of benefits in the area of DevOps. And studies shows that AI technologies provide benefits to DevOps workflows, including areas such as testing, deployments, but also resource management and security. So organizations can benefit from AI integration in DevOps and increase productivity. However, before we go into more details, there are a lot of buzzwords around AI and DevOps, and I'd like to introduce two of them to you, which are around. So we are talking about AI agents, and agentic DevOps. So maybe we move on to the next slide, where you can see a very brief introduction about these two terms. So an AI agent is a modular and specific agent which has limited autonomy and authority. So typically an AI agent operates reactively and has a very clearly defined environment with clear defined task boundaries. And an AI agent has, for example, key capabilities with reasoning, perception, and decision making. On the other hand, we use agentic DevOps, where we can see several intelligent agents collaborating with developers and operations people, but also between each other. So this is then possible to automate and optimize every stage of the software delivery lifecycle and support the DevOps team. So the DevOps team can benefit from reduced backlogs, eliminating technical depth, and so on, because agentic DevOps is very, very good for handling routinized tasks, as we all know, like bug fixing and documentation. Now I would like to give you some examples how agentic AI can look like in software development and also in software operations. Here you can see examples for agents in the area of development. So for example, CI, CD, continuous integration, continuous development and delivery is already very well known for the potential for automation. However, agents can now orchestrate CI/CD pipelined in an intelligent way to support build and deployment issues and resolve them, of course, and also suggests improvement based on tests. Another example is the code generation and also code review. Here, agents can support development tasks from generating code with the help of requirements to refining code and reviewing code, of course. And on an infrastructure, from an infrastructure point of view, we see that agents can design, implement, and of course maintain infrastructure-related tasks to optimize cost, security, and performance. And when we have a look into the software operations point of view, we see that agentic AI is also known as AI Ops. So when we move on to the next slide, here you can see that, AI Ops, there are already platform on the market which can be bought and integrated into existing environments. And the benefit of AI Ops is that it is, monitoring, engaging, and automation tasks in modern IT infrastructures and environments. So with the help of historical data and real-time insights, AI Ops agents can proactive resolve problems. So especially in the area of IT support tasks such as incident management or problem management, AI Ops has great potential. For example, it supports incident responses and troubleshooting. So here agents support a root cause analysis. They are already able to autonomously fix issues or provide proactive recommendations. Furthermore, agents can be used for performance optimization to analyze metrics and identify patterns, for example, to improve speed and stability, and also maybe to reduce costs, for example, infrastructure costs and so on. And also in the area of security and compliance, agents can detect vulnerabilities and proactively help solving them. And in general, we already see that in anomaly identification and root cause analysis, these tools are helpful and there's a lot of potential. However, coming to an end, not only the technological part in DevOps is very important, and we see every year new tools and technologies that need consideration. And also the recent AI index report, which was conducted in the United States, shows that there is an 323% growth of US job posting mentioning Gen AI skills from 2023 on. So Gen AI skills seems to be a big topic. Also in the at the beginning, I mentioned the DORA report from Google Cloud. They also asked participants to rate 8 skills. One from them is the most important skills that is seen in a DevOps teams. And interestingly, it is creating technical documentations. Especially in agile environments, it seems to be we need some technical documentation as well. However, we see a lot of technical skills here, but also problem-solving skills on place 2 or on place 6, teamwork and collaboration. And here we see that culture and social capital and digital empathy is very important if you want to have successful DevOps teams and successful integration of AI in DevOps. So that was a very brief presentation with some key insights from research and also practice. And now I would like to introduce Michael. Michael is the co-founder of the company Artifact. He is widely recognized as a leading expert in the field of data and AI with over 20 years, of experience. He's leading complex AI programs to establish new AI operating models in global and also national organizations to drive value and at scale. And furthermore, he's a teacher. So he's an AI lecturer in value realization, and additionally, he's a global AI ambassador. So I'm very pleased and very proud to hand over to you, Michael, for leading the panel discussion now.
Thank you very much. Now, I need to be careful not to turn red here. Anyway, thank you very much for these kind words. But this panel is not about me. This is actually about our experts here in the room. And Anna, you will be gladly also joining us into the panel discussion with your expertise. So thanks for these amazing insights on where we are today with DevOps and also, where the future might go, where the possibilities are. So moving forward, it's now my pleasure to, in addition to Anna, to introduce the panel members for today's conversation and discussion. So first and foremost, let's start somewhere in the middle. We have Lukas Mautner. Lukas is my colleague. He's also working at Artifact, and he's senior AI engineering consultant. And actually, interestingly, he holds both. He holds a degree in software development, where he has taken care about a lot of DevOps cycle, but also in AI, and how the field comes together. And that's why it's not a surprise he's leading at Artifact the AI DevOps and comes today with practical experiences from the field, but also from the study on how and where AI could be applied. So very welcome, Lukas, to the stage. Second in the row here, we have Tobias Kluge. Toby has, almost like me, even more, 22 years of experience in the field of IT in different roles. He's an entrepreneur and also a founder of his organization incratec right now. He has been a consultant in the past, working for Ernie and Nexplore as a lead developer. So he has seen DevOps and AI from all angles and point of view, and also has established personal brands himself as a personal brand, such as a Mr. AI, and with incratec now delivering customized AI services to different organizations to support from strategy to development. Last but not least, also Toby is a teacher, but he goes on the ISO certification. So if you need an audit prep for ISO 27001, he might be the right person for you to consult on. Then next in the row, it's my big pleasure to introduce you, Romain. Bonjour. I love your name. Anyway, so Romain, he's about 7 years working with Swisscom in different roles, but right now he is lead site reliability engineering transformation at the infrastructure and networking unit. I'm sure you're going to tell us a little bit more what that means and where that goes to. And it's as such responsible to apply software-oriented methodologies and artificial intelligence to infrastructure and network. So here yet it comes again. It's the software side with methodologies and AI and how we can leverage that technology to solve problems. Before he was a senior researcher, R&D engineer at the CSAM, and Romain also holds a PhD from the ETH in optical and RF communication. So very warm welcome to you as well, Romain. It's great you're in. And last but not least, we have Degu Dagne. Degu also joins us with a wealth of experience, more than 25 years of experience in banking and IT. Actually, Degu, you have been all of your life almost at Zurich Kantonalbank in different roles in the IT department. And right now, you are MD and department leader for application development process. As such, also taking the responsibility on the DevOps cycles. And you're very much interested also to look at what is the right culture for DevOps teams, and for sure as well, AI will have an influence on that. Also, very warm welcome to you, Degu. Good. Now that we have introduced the panel, let's move on to our first question. And as Anna has already outlined, you're going to hear probably more about this Google DORA study. And if you haven't checked it out, it's really cool. It's quite comprehensive, quite a lot of insight. And one of the interesting pieces here as well is that nowadays, actually, I should say, I don't know what the 10% of people are doing actually who are not using AI assistant. I must assume they have read probably the question wrong of the questionnaire. But anyway, it seems like really the majority of you guys out there developing work is in the DevOps cycle leveraging AI assistants. And I have also pulled out this list here, which is outlining today's list of what and for what activities also AI is being leveraged. We already saw some insight from Anna on that side. There is some additional elements on this field. But that's only to segue actually into my first question. And I would like to basically start the question with Lukas. On your side, maybe you can give us a little bit of an input and an insight if you are developing AI solution on your side alongside the DevOps cycle. How and where do you apply DevOps these days? Lukas, please.
Well, thank you, first of all, Michi, for introducing me. I also had to be careful not to turn red before, so thanks for that. And as to your question, well, DevOps we use in almost every project, of course. It's become sort of state of the art, and that's good because it helps us in a lot of ways. And AI, well, we are an AI company, so it would make sense for us to do that as well. The combination, however, is still rather experimental, I would say. So the use of AI, or let's say the heavy use of AI within DevOps, is something that we are experimenting with quite actively at the moment. And I mean, aside from by now rather obvious things like generating code with it and having it create test cases and such, a couple of the things that you showed on the slide just now, Michi. Aside from that, we also have most of our infrastructure and all of our pipelines as code, of course, all of our CI/CD pipelines, which means we can have AI help there. But aside from these sort of code generation use cases, there's also one thing that I'd like to share right now, which is, I think, pointing the way in which it is going in the future. And that is that for one project, we're actually using AI at the moment already to generate the release notes for new releases whenever we build or whenever we create a new release. We generate the changelog using that. And the way we do that is whenever we create a new release, we ask the pipeline to make a couple of steps, look into the commit history since the last release, also look into the code if the commit messages have been deemed not expressive enough, which I have heard can happen sometimes, and make sure that a proper changelog is created. The reason we did this is because it's always something that is a bit annoying to write, or at least if you haven't done a release for a while, if it's not just a hot fix that you're deploying, it's going to take a while to figure out, okay, what is the most important thing to write in there? And so we decided to just try that, and it worked surprisingly well. Now, I should mention that we're not using AI actively yet in managing the infrastructure itself, and we'll talk about that a little bit more later during the risks part, I guess. But for now, these sorts of things which I think probably falls under creating documentation, is where I've noticed that AI can be used in general very well, and also specifically in a fully automated setting within the pipelines.
Thank you very much for these insights, Lukas, on how and where. Let's switch organization. Romain, at Swisscom, there's a distinct program that you're leading around AI, but maybe you can give us a bit of an overview how AI is used in the DevOps cycle at Swisscom, please.
Sure. First of all, Swisscom is obviously a large organization. So what I comment on, what I say are trends that we see, that I see. But in large organization, answering that question depends where you ask it. We have some teams that are doing software development, so the maturity there is not the same as in a team that is doing infrastructure and network. My focus, to put the context, is on using DevOps methodologies, software engineering technologies for network and infrastructure. So I have more an angle on that aspect to transform the way we operate network and infrastructure. However, back to your question on DevOps. We are doing a lot. Obviously, if you go through the 8 DevOps steps, plan, code, build, test, release, deploy, and operate and monitor, we have many activities. I would like to focus on 2 aspects, the operate and monitor. So obviously, coding with copilots, different vendors, and so on, people are aware of that. So I want just to deep dive a bit on operate and monitor. On operate, we are really trying to change the way we respond to incident. We create our changes using Gen AI. The goal here is really to reduce the time our engineers are spending on those activities while ensuring the quality of what we do prevent any incidents. We obviously are quite exposed every time we have incidents, so the goal is really to improve reliability. We do have a specific project on that. That's the project I am leading, doing quite many progresses on those aspects. On monitor, and here I want to also emphasize something that is true for many industries, AI is nothing new. We do have a department doing data analytics. We have had that department for many years. Now, of course, there is a new push with LLMs, with Gen AI on those topics, but all the other activities on AI, what you could do with machine learning, on anomaly detection, on quite many other things, we have a lot of people on that. And this journey continues. But here you also get 2 keys, machine learning on data, anomaly detections. That's extremely important for us to be able to monitor and identify issues in our very complex interconnected systems.
Very interesting. Thank you very much, Romain. Let's directly jump to the next who has not spoken. Toby, how do you see it in your fields, supporting customer, also in development and AI area? How and where do you see AI being used alongside the DevOps cycle?
Yes, for me, it's exactly counterpart. Thank you, Roman, for taking care of the operations. My task is normally to provide nice code and get a team running and producing code in a high quality and high performance. So it's more like Lukas already said. For me, it's building software and products in a great time, and therefore the coding assistants are quite nice. But if you just use them without any context, it doesn't really work. So my goal is to really provide the right way of context, the right amount of context, so that your coding assistant or even in the background does all the stuff automatically. But of course, it's not perfect yet. So how can we make the right number of specification technically and from the project available? This is where I work currently at. And for me, it's also like running these agents. Markdown is one of the standards that's currently evolving to provide this context. And then the other side, how we interact are the other parts of like the dev part, like the addition suite and all this stuff, to really give all the context to the AI so it has all the information available to make good work. So MCP is available. But how do we get this in an organization in a secure way? It's currently one of the tasks I'm working on. So back to the audience, Michael.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Toby, for these insights. Well, let's give the opportunity also to Degu. Degu, can you share some concrete examples on how you're leveraging AI alongside the DevOps, now being more than 25 years in this field? Very curious to hear. Degu, can you hear us?
Are you okay.
Here we are.
Online. Yeah, there we are. So in terms of AI right now, we are taking a small approach. Let's call it start small and prove the value approach. So most of our development in our company is based on Spring Java tech stack. So we start to focus on that specific tech stack. And we found out asking AI actually to write a brand new code in context of our complex banking cosmos is a bit of a struggle. Toby is talking about context. That is a big thing. So it doesn't get the specific context without tons of hand holdings. So we were asking ourselves also, what is the actual current AI capability better at? And we found out that understanding the code, not writing the code, but understanding the code is even better for this kind of AI which we have right now. So we pivoted on that specific thing. Instead of having AI write the story, we put a kind of an AI chat right beside the IDE of the developers. And its main job is actually to increase our test coverage. A developer finishes a feature and the AI helps him to write solid tests or even edge case testings. So it's kind of a perfect fit for that specific current strength which AI can provide right now. And it's a small but a concise win for our quality approach which we are driving through. Another cool thing which we are trying to work on is to enable all developers that the whole repetitive task force can be applied through AI. So the first thing which we did was we tried to provide a kind of merge request decorator. So every developer in our place, once he coded something else, he has to provide it to another person, at least another person, to verify whether it is good written in terms of quality scores, in terms of key takeaways and what has been changed. So we summarize that in the coding aspect and give a proven, but at the end of the day, a standardized way how a merge request approval process should work in the future. So that are our small focuses right now to check out the value.
Very cool. Thank you for these interesting insights, Degu. Now it's still co-development and sharing. At some point, then an AI will do the quality check probably. Let's see where things are going. At that side, by the way, guys who are here in the meeting, in the live meeting, feel free to use the chat to pose any questions you have, also to the speakers here. We have agreed that the speakers will try to also off-cycle answer them, as we already had the first one from Lukas, question to Lukas that has been answered here from Dennis' side. Please feel free to use that, and let's move on that to the next question. You also pointed out there one piece, Degu, that I like. It's a value-based approach, thinking about value. Still, we are covered by the Google DORA report. These numbers are so fascinating. Initial views here really show that the individual effectiveness is the one that benefits most. But we're going to come to the downside on the software instability, especially when it comes to generating vibe coding or generating code aspects as such. But there is also organizational performance and value working code quality that are seen as kind of the dimensions on how AI can actually help alongside the DevOps cycle. Now, moving over to my question. So there's kind of big, promises around that on AI and probably also agentic AI around DevOps. Anna, from your point of view, where, in all the conversations you have had in the past now with organizations, where is the biggest lever, where is the biggest value that AI can do in the DevOps cycle?
Yeah, thank you. As we already saw from Romain, he also mentioned that there is a big hope for time saving. And I mean, compared to traditional project management, which has release cycles up to 6 months and more, DevOps is well known for just pushing the button for a deployment. If it's ready, so we still have to code it and deploy it and so on. And there's a recent study that shows or that compared software developers who used GitHub Copilot for writing code, and they compared it with software developers who did not use any AI assistant tool. I mean, there are also other tools like Tab9 and so on. However, these developers who used Copilot were 56% faster than the and better in code writing than the developers who did not use any AI assistant tool. And I was a service manager for years, and my team and we had a lot of manual investigation of logs and logs files during the evenings and nights to find failures and so on. And I would have been very happy to have some automation here and to get some help here in identifying problems in log files. So that would be my hope in the future, that we have this more automation and intelligent investigation of this repetitive work.
Thank you very much, Anna. Toby, do you have something to add on your side? While I also invite the ODL panel members to probably think about on the benefits they see currently as part of their work. Toby, please.
I mean, looking in the future, I mean, in 3 to 5 years, I mean, 10 years ago, it was promised we have self-driving cars. Looking back, we don't have them. So at least for me and my experience and my feelings. So I don't know what about coding and AI is. Hopefully it's easier than driving cars. I don't know. Looking at some code base, it might not work so easily. So we will see. But for me, like the operations part, I think it's a lot of manual work, this grunting. As Anna said, I think this will hopefully be solved in 3 to 5 years. And on the other side, like coding monkeys, like the juniors that have been coding a lot of work, even abroad somewhere, without any relationship to the business that was like hiring them. I mean, this will hopefully also change a lot so that there's more information now, and AI will help us to build some more robust code easier with direct like response to the customer and have more value in a short amount of time, and also maybe better code and maybe even more secure code would also be helpful. I mean, from the security perspective, AI is not that bad, but of course it must be working good. Yeah, for me, it's the dream is like in 5 years, I will tell my machine to like what I want. It provides me with some specification, and like 5 minutes later, it will be running on production, as smart coding currently is put on LinkedIn. but this time really working and nicely done. But I don't know if it really works. I mean, it's the same miracle as with the self-driving cars. I mean, the more complex applications won't work that easily. So my hope is, at least for the easier part, we don't have just vibe coding, but really, really good working. I mean, small to large to medium-sized applications with AI and also operations.
Thank you, Toby. I mean, I'm going to freestyle a little bit, Degu. I just want to echo that, what Toby just said, around this big dream in 3 to 5 years, we can just write a line and then finally development is done. Do you share that dream as well? And is that also kind of compliant to your environment that you're working in? What is your personal view on that?
Well, from my point of view, I don't comply fully with Tobias. I think a well-written and coded application is deterministic, and we will be expecting in the future also such kind of applications. So an AI you request something else and it gives you an answer, and the next answer is quite different one. So from my point of view, there is still a need of a deterministic coding, which should be very, in terms of quality, very, very cool. In terms of like operations, it should enable a self-healing and predictive analytical topics in terms of monitoring. All this stuff can be applied. All this boring stuff can be applied to the AI part. That kind of things are my hopeful promises. Right now, to be frankly, there are two aspects. One is like the big business is expecting a lot of efficiency from our DevOps teams. So there is a focus on that one. But from my point of view, the real magic, when we talk about the full DevOps 8, is when the AI starts to look at the project requirements, not beginning from coding, just in the front from the AI requirement. Once an AI is capable of understanding the requirements of a project, there is a big win from my point of view, because you will be able to verify whether business people and their thoughts are really valid in the code and well performed. And that is my big expectation from my point of view.
Thank you very much. Let's probably move also to the other side. And Romain, you unmuted. You would like to share something from your side.
And I'm ready for possible next questions. On that topic of operation and so on, I'm fully convinced that we will replace almost all the manual work mid-long term. But not only AI, it's about coding your way out of operations with proper code. AI may help you to do that, but it's not kind of going AI to do the job for you. I'm more expecting that with AI, we can really code the operation reasoning into our software directly. But yeah, it's all about coding.
Very good. So I mean, having talked about the upside, there is also this downside. And it's interesting, if I'm speaking with IT leaders and with developers, it depends a little bit in what belief they are, right? So either they believe this is the greatest thing and whatever, or on the other hand side, they say, yeah, it's cool for exploration. But on the other hand, if then it should go to production, I'm rather critical on it. And Dora, the Google report, also looked into that. And as you can see here on the chart, they have clustered all the respondents in 7 clusters. So it's quite interesting to look into more details. But actually, at net, there is only 2 clusters, which are actually better performing. So there is more output in terms of what is generated, but also in terms of the stability of the software. There are only these 2 teams who basically, or these 2 clusters, who have overperformed. So there is obviously a sweet spot in this field, right? So there seems to be, according to the information here, cluster 6 and cluster 7 who are overperforming all the others to generate more code and better code as such. Now, if we look on the middle of the risky side or the challenge side, Romain, where do you see the biggest risk and challenges? Basically, that the guys who are here on the left-hand side of this charts are falling in. what is the risks that you are discussing at Swisscom on coding with AI and DevOps with AI?
Well, I will take that broadly on DevOps and AI. The first one is quite straightforward to me. When you do POCs, when you try things with GenAI, you quickly get some very useless, nice-looking results. So if you go to a standard LLM from the ChatGPT or AI, the big ones, and we were trying that a couple of weeks ago on an outage we had on an IP network, and you start asking what could be the root causes, what could be the fixes. If you just ask that to a generically trained AI, the answer you get seems quite good. The fixes seems quite logical to a manager, to a decision taker who do not have the DevOps context or the engineer's context. So you may generate a big bias in your organization that the transformation is going to be super easy. It's not. It's really hard work to bring the right context. And that's the true challenge we have with AI, bringing the data in, bringing the right context. In my example of the IP network, you need the documentation of the exact devices you are using from the right vendor. You cannot take documentation from another vendor or from another model. You need the right one. And you also need to understand your architecture. You need to have those kind of context, and that's extremely difficult to get correctly every time someone is asking a question. And this is a really huge effort that should not be minimized. So bringing that context is key. And you should also leverage what your engineers know. So what we are starting to do is to record and transcript all our incident calls, because we want to know not only what's documented at the outcome after an incident, but we want to know what the team discussed, what were their thoughts, what have they tried that failed, and so on. Avoid the famous survivor bias. So bringing the context is really, really key. The second challenge for me, it's not because it's not working today that it's not going to work tomorrow. The technology is evolving extremely fast. So if you try something and it does not work, try again in 2 weeks, maybe it's different. And sometimes people get this bias, ooh, super cool on paper, that's not so good, but you need to try again. You need to constantly try and try and try. That was a bit long. Sorry.
We can't hear you.
Thank you very much for the help. Thank you, Romain. I just said, continuous trial and context delivery. CTCD is probably going to be the new CI/CD. Who knows in this field? Very interesting. Lukas, I know also from the conversations we have together, you're one of these who are looking at this also with a critical eye, really razor sharp on where it makes sense today. But what risks do you see around bringing AI too deep into the DevOps cycle?
Yeah, you're right about that. I mean, I am a professional skeptic after all, so I need to look at that with those glasses on as well. Don't get me wrong, I do see a lot of upsides, but I do also see a lot of risk. Interestingly, even though I'm a very technical person, I see those risks more on the organizational side, perhaps, or on the educational side, let's say. So AI can do great things for you, but you need to be very careful because, as Romain just said, you often, or sometimes, depending on the context, you get answers that seem great but are absolute garbage. And even when you are in a process, let's say, that allows you to still look at the results of what the AI produced and say, okay, yes, we're going to do this, or no, we're going to have to change things about it. Even then, you need to be very careful and very critical to make sure that the small details are also correct, not just the overall look of it. It's not just, glittering and glamorous, but also actually, works. And to answer the actual question that you asked, I think the risks that come with that are the fact that technology is evolving quite fast, that has entered the public's mind, also the business minds. I'm going to just say this very, very bluntly, creates expectations of efficiency, also the gains or the purported gains that we see reported from bigger companies that use this stuff, they raise eyebrows. Wow, 30%, 50% efficiency gain. If you let yourself be lulled into a false sense of security that the AI is going to figure it out because it's so good by now, you're going to make catastrophic mistakes. And that is something that you're going to feel, especially when you let AI do stuff with no human in the loop, or with a human in the loop who is too confident in the AI. And I mean, some of these things are not so bad if a piece of documentation isn't perfect, or if to take my example from earlier, if your changelog has a small error in it, well, so what? But if your AI makes a mistake and you don't correct it, or you don't even attempt to correct it in your infrastructure, when you have infrastructure as code, especially in a complex project or even a complex organization, you're going to pay very dearly for that. So I'm not saying we shouldn't use this, just don't get me wrong. I know I can sound very negative, but what I mean is we need to make sure that the human remains in the loop for the critical tasks, and that human in the loop is actually alert, actually awake, actually checking the work of the AI, and not just saying, well, it's going to be fine anyway.
Thank you, Lukas, for that. Degu, you also spoke before about the context. You started also having already design information embedded, a little bit similar to Romain. Obviously, I would love to ask you the question, if you would deploy something that has been vibe coded to production without any further human in the loop, but maybe that's not the risk point here. What are the risks that you see, Degu, in this field? We can't hear you right now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Once again, now it's working. Sorry for that one. I think it's not all that kind of smooth sailing. I would say the biggest hurdles which I'm watching are a mix of technical problems and problem with the people, human. On the tech side, it's really hard to prove that AI is actually right now paying off because for instance, a developer uses AI and it gets suggestion, great thing, but did it actually save time, or did he spend a lot of time in prompting that specific question? Is the code better? How good is the code at the end of the day? Right now, we are basically having difficulties in measuring how much it is really paying, measuring by data, not by gut feeling, and to quantify the efficiency at the end of the day. We need a solid data-based way of how to get to that aspect, instead of just having a lot of boilerplate code or even flawed code. On the other side, and then the human aspect is much even trickier from my point of view, and nobody is taking actions on that. A lot of people consider that aspect, but they are not taking any actions. Also in our company, by the way, we keep saying that AI is a co-pilot. That means the pilot's job is going to change in some way, because he has someone right now helping him out. Our engineers will need to shift from being a pure coders to being, I don't know, kind of good promoters, more importantly, from my point of view, a very critical reviewer and quality checkers at the end of the day, because AI produces a lot of stuff and we need to verify that very carefully. So there are some risk, and hoping that it's going to improve in the future and evolve in some way so that we can reduce that kind of risks.
Thank you very much.
Also, I would like to comment.
Romain, you want to add on?
Yeah. Independently, if an engineer is coding or AI is coding, key is all you test and roll back and do those kind of things. So I would, in principle, more tend towards services where what you deploy is well checked, really slowly, stepwise, etc., and automatically roll back if you see that you have an impact on customers. Ideally, I would like to be able to make some code with some errors without thinking too much about that. My pipeline should handle that. That's more my view on the topic. So vibe coding, junior engineer coding, me coding, that's also quite bad, by the way. Pipeline is key.
Thank you for that add-on, and also thanks for the active chat here. Also good questions and direct answers. Vibe coding, Romain, you brought it up. I brought here a statement of the CEO of Y Combinator, and he has been looking at the latest batch of new startup organizations, where he says basically 95% of them, you know, they're leveraging code written by AI. So it seems like the next generation of startups is vibe coded. I wouldn't say they don't know what is written in the code, but you know, seeing recent posts on the latest Claude announcement is that this thing can code for more than 24 hours in a row. I'm not sure how many lines of code there would be developed. You know, I mean, that, however, seems to be where things are going, you know, because these Y Combinator startups, they will probably hit the market soon heavily. Maybe Degu, on your side, vibe coding, you know, what is your view on that? Is that something reliable? Is that something you're using? You said you talk about an assistant on the side. So what is your view on that?
Well, vibe coding in such a strong regulated place like ours, like a bank, I don't know whether that can be at the moment feasible, because you can't afford to get the details really wrong in a bank. Mm-hmm. So vibe coding is a cool idea. You just tell the vibe what you want, and it builds it. But it won't work from my point of view at this time of the day. One of the aspects is what I mentioned before, that the contextual understanding of the technique, the AI, at these days are at the baby steps from my point of view. They are not yet there to use vibe coding. So our approach is much down to earth. To be frankly, we're not telling AI to build up a banking app. Instead, we're giving a very specific job, like can you refactor this messy code, or write documentation, or give me how it works, or generate some standard test or edge case test for such kind of model. So for now, to be frankly, the creative spark and the core logic still comes from our developers. We see AI as a junior co-pilot, not even a co-pilot, but a junior co-pilot that handles some busy work, but the human are still very much flying our planes.
Thank you very much for that insight. Let's probably jump on that statement and talk about today is a junior co-developer on the side, but where things might go. And there is this concept out there, we have touch based it already, so that DevOps probably soon is going to be no ops. I'm not sure that's a term that already is familiar or to be spoken, but the value prop is obviously clear. And you can see here on the low-tech AI reports on the right-hand side that this light blue 28% of manual tasks finally should also still be automated by AI. And there you can see there is a developer on the top line who gives an input, and then everything runs through. So, dear experts, is this real? When will this come? I'm not sure you can give a number or a date, but I'm curious on your thoughts around this no ops and what would be needed. Anna, any thoughts on that?
I think some software engineers are dreaming about no ops and hoping for that. However, yesterday I talked to a person who is responsible for rolling out a very well-known tool for software operation and AI ops in a big insurance company here in Switzerland. And he says this tool is very good for automation and monitoring in this area and automated analysis, but the real intelligence is still missing. And I don't know, Toby mentioned maybe in 3 to 5 years we see more. I don't know that. But I agree with Degu that this human in the loop is still necessary. If you don't know how IT operations is working, you will never know what the systems are doing. So I think it's important that we are not losing the skills in this area as well.
Yeah.
Michael, your microphone.
Thank you, Anna. Sorry again. I'm sorry for that. Roma, maybe you're not going to tell us that Swisscom you have no ops already in play, but this is something you're dreaming about. Is this a strategic ambition?
It is definitely, but obviously it's not a black and white statement. You will always need some ops, especially when you are operating complex interconnected services, because at some point you will need that. But on many aspects, as I already said, I believe we will strongly reduce the time spent on ops.
Thank you.
I cannot give you a date.
Well, is it the sooner the better? maybe it is. But let's jump into another area. I see we are also running ahead in terms of time. Let's stay here in the future, right? And then getting back here on a report that has been also generated by the Google Dora on the left hand side, and on the right hand side, Kubernetes. So the current view is probably echoing what the panel currently sees. There is a lot of tasks where AI is being applied, but when it comes to this agent mode, literally having autonomously operating somehow in the background, doing something we might not even be aware of, 61% of the developers would not do that, or are not really leveraging or doing that. I mean, Degu, I'm curious to see in 2 years from now, where do you feel we are with that? Is that number going to be already down to 10%, or do you feel that this agent mode, the working autonomously in the background, will increase?
I think the agent mode for specific and well-defined tasks, that will evolve from my point of view. That from my wish of view, I wish for that. And I'm expecting some cool ideas, especially when it comes to I'm talking about our bank business. It is very highly regulated, so we have to prove that things are, in terms of regulation, well compliant, and all that kind of stuff can be done while developers are still doing feature implementations. That can be accessed every day and every second by an agent that can prove the whole project code in terms of compliance aspects. So we are preparing for that one for next year, that we start some compliant agents that will help to prove whether everything is done properly, everything is tested enoughly, and is applied in the way how it should be before it goes to the production. So that kind of tasks that are really time spending can be approached with such kind of agentic mode of AI. That's our wish and expectation. I would say this will go down to 5%.
Thank you. Lukas, do you echo that?
Yes, mostly. I mean, there's many areas in which agentic DevOps, AI DevOps, whatever you want to call it, can go. And I personally see it more on a, let's say, monitoring and informing kind of way, an intelligent alerting system, if you will, something like that. So this is also something that we're starting to experiment with. There was actually a question right at the beginning of the meeting about that topic, about log analytics, log analysis, and monitoring from that perspective as an AI task. I think personally that we're going to go more and more into a setting where AI agents will be able to tell us what is going on, with be able to filter out the noise, summarize things for us, alert us to things that we are maybe might not have been aware of because we did not see it, did not code it properly into the logs themselves, etc. And also just filter out the noise of what's going on and give us a better, more concise, more action-oriented insight into what's actually going on. What I don't see is agents operating completely autonomously on the infrastructure, changing pipelines around, because yes, AI will become better and better, but there was a fun post that I saw quite a while ago where a software engineer said, well, look, guys, AI basically needs people to specify properly what they want. Our jobs are safe. And that's kind of the same thing here. In order to have AI do exactly what you want, you need to be able to say that. You need to think of all the edge cases, for example, and all of this stuff. So it is, in my personal view, very dangerous to give complete control to an AI, but you need to, or not need to, but you can have a lot of performance gain and also a lot of pain reduction, let's call it, if you use it in a smart way and in a reporting way. I think that is my personal view for the next couple of years where the journey is going.
Thank you very much. I see we are starting to get over time. So it's probably, there is a lot of elements still to continue to discuss. As suggested also in the chat, let's make sure you reach out to us to continue the conversations online. We would have tons of more questions to go through today, also probably from the panel, but in that sense, it's my pleasure again to say thank you very much to the people here who took the time first to share their experience and their knowledge. Anna, Degu, Toby, Lukas, and Romain. It was my pleasure. Second, I would like to also thank to the whole team of the Swiss AI Week to make this happen and to make this possible, to provide us here with a platform to start the conversation on all of these topics. I hope next year things will continue the same way and it has not been a one-time effort. Things shall continue in that sense. And with that, I would like to wish you a very good evening with a final thought on how to leverage and share AI. I would be pleased to get your views on that one too. I'm not sure there's something else to say other than have a good evening, have a good dinner, and talk to you soon.
Thanks, Michi, and thanks to all of you for this valuable fireside side chat. It was very good. So still in the back here, the AI plus X public night now, so the people can join now. Everybody could join tonight. So if somebody would like to see the session again, it's on YouTube now. And Michi, can we share the slides then afterwards? I think so, right?
From my point of view, I think yes. Anna also needs to agree on that, but yes.
Sure.
Okay, thanks very much and have a good evening. Bye-bye.
You too.
Bye
Thank
for
you.
now.
Thank you, everyone.
See you soon.